Bonjour and welcome, viewers and students, to Let's Speak French, Parlons Français. These lessons on basic French are short and easy. And if you follow the program regularly, I can guarantee you that very soon you will be able to speak and understand French quite easily. The previous class focused on contracted articles. In today's class, we are going to learn about tonic pronouns. This lesson has been divided into 3 sections. In the first section, I will explain to you what a tonic pronoun is and how it is different from a subject pronoun. In the next section, I will show you a few contexts where tonic pronouns are used. And in the third section, I'll provide a text to revise what we learned in today's class. In this lesson, I will introduce you to words related to hobbies. Tonic pronouns are also known as stress pronouns or disjunctive pronouns. As in the case with all pronouns, these words are short and replace a noun that has already been mentioned. Tonic pronouns exist in English, but they are used differently. In French, tonic pronouns can be employed in various contexts. In the following section, I will show you what these different contexts are. But for the moment, let me explain to you what tonic pronouns are and how they differ from subject pronouns. When learning about the auxiliary verbs and the ER ending verbs, I mentioned the 8 subject pronouns that are used for the conjugation. These pronouns, which are je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, elle, function as the subject of the verb. In other words, these 8 pronouns can replace a noun or a proper noun that is the subject doing the action. For example, in the sentence, Mon frère aime jouer à la guitare, the noun frère can be replaced by the subject pronoun il. Il aime jouer à la guitare, which translates as he likes playing the guitar. In this sentence, il replaces a noun. Similarly, il can also replace a proper noun, as we see in Les vendredis soirs, Antoine joue au foot. Friday evenings, Antoine plays football. When we replace the proper noun Antoine with the subject pronoun il, we have Les vendredis soirs, il joue au foot. So as we can see from these 2 sentences, subject pronouns are used in a very specific context, which is as the subject of the sentence. Like subject pronouns, tonic pronouns are also 8 in number because each tonic pronoun corresponds to a subject pronoun. Let me show you a table that displays the 2 sets of pronouns. So on the left hand side we have the subject pronouns and on the right hand side we have the tonic pronouns. Je corresponds to moi, tu corresponds to toi, il corresponds to lui, elle corresponds to elle, nous corresponds to nous, vous corresponds to vous, il corresponds to eux, and elle corresponds to elle. As you can see from this table, elle, that is the singular elle, nous, vous, and the plural elle are identical to their corresponding subject pronoun. But je becomes moi, tu becomes toi, il singular becomes lui, and il plural becomes eux. These 2 sets of pronouns have specific functions. Tonic pronouns cannot replace subject pronouns and vice versa. It can be difficult to remember when tonic pronouns need to be used because of the various situations that require them. So that is why in the next section, I will show you these different contexts. There's a reason why tonic pronouns are also known as stress pronouns. Tonic pronouns are mostly used to emphasize a noun or a pronoun that refers to a person. Tonic pronouns can be used quite flexibly. I will show you the different ways to use tonic pronouns to stress on a person. Before I illustrate these situations with sentences, let me point out two things. The first one is that the English equivalent of the sentences will not always be a word-to-word translation. Tonic pronouns are used differently in English, and often a different sentence structure is required to translate the French sentences into English. And the second point is that in order to avoid confusion between subject pronouns and tonic pronouns, I'll make sentences using only moi, toi, lui and eux. 1. Tonic pronouns to emphasize the subject of a sentence. A. After c'est and ce sont. In French, when you want to highlight the subject of a sentence, you insert the phrase c'est or ce sont right before the subject. If the subject is a person and you wish to replace the noun or the proper noun with a pronoun, it is the tonic pronoun that must be used. So to highlight a person, you use the following sentence structure: c'est plus tonic pronoun or ce sont plus tonic pronoun. Let me illustrate this concept with sentences. Let's consider the sentence Il fait de l'équitation. This sentence means he does horse riding. If we want to stress on the subject doing the verb, we say c'est lui qui fait de l'équitation. This sentence means it's he who does horse riding. Now, if the subject is plural, we need to replace c'est by ce sont. The sentence would therefore be ce sont eux qui font de l'équitation. The tonic pronouns moi, toi, lui and elle follow c'est, while nous, vous, eux and elles follow ce sont. B. To repeat the subject pronoun. Sometimes, to emphasize the subject of a sentence, it is common practice to repeat the subject twice. In French, one places the corresponding tonic pronoun before the subject pronoun. This repetition results in highlighting the subject doing the verb. Let's consider the following sentence. Toi, tu adores lire et moi, je préfère surfer sur Internet. The English equivalent of this sentence is you love reading and I prefer online browsing. Let me give you another example. Toi, tu restes assis. In English, we can translate this sentence as you, yes you, remain seated. As you can see, the two English translations have a different sentence structure. 2. Tonic pronouns as subject when the verb is absent, but obvious. In phrases that don't have a verb, very often the verb is implied or obvious. In such situations, one uses a tonic pronoun. Let's consider this sentence. Nous aimons faire du jogging, mais lui, pas du tout. In English, this sentence would be we like jogging, but he, not at all. In the French sentence, faire du jogging is the verb and it is missing in the phrase mais lui pas du tout. However, the meaning of the sentence is not compromised and one can understand what is meant despite the absence of the verb. Let me illustrate this with another example. Chaque hiver, nous allons à la montagne pour faire du ski. Moi aussi. In English, the translation is, every winter we go to the mountains for skiing. I too. As you can see, there isn't any verb in the comment made by the second speaker. Had the speaker elaborated his comment, he would have said, Je vais aussi à la montagne chaque hiver pour faire du ski. I too go to the mountains every winter for skiing. But the entire phrase aller à la montagne chaque hiver pour faire du ski, which means to go to the mountains every winter for skiing, is omitted, and the tonic pronoun moi replaces the subject pronoun je. In such grammatical situations, it is always the tonic pronoun that is used and acts as the subject of the phrase. The subject pronoun can never be used since there isn't any verb to accompany it. Before we move to the next section that calls for tonic pronouns, let me draw your attention to the English subject pronouns. I is used to translate the French tonic pronoun moi. Moi aussi is translated as I too. Both English and French have tonic pronouns, but the way each language uses them varies. In English, this sentence requires a subject pronoun, while in French, one would use the tonic pronoun. 3. After a preposition. Let's look at a third situation that requires tonic pronouns. In French, the pronoun that is placed after a preposition is always a tonic or a stress pronoun. One can never place a subject pronoun after a preposition. Let me illustrate this with 3 different prepositions. Je joue au basket avec lui. The English counterpart of this sentence is I play basketball with him. In this sentence, avec is the preposition. Cette raquette de tennis, c'est pour toi. This sentence translates as this tennis racket is for you. Here the preposition is pour. Elle termine la course avant moi. This sentence translates as they complete the race before me. In this sentence, avant is the preposition. So these are some of the contexts where tonic pronouns are used in the French language. In this third section of the lesson, let's revise what we learned today. The following dialogue contains many tonic pronouns. I'm going to slowly read out the dialogue so that you can understand how these are used in French. Cécile. Salut Philippe, comment vas-tu? Philippe. Bien, et toi? Cécile. Moi, je vais très bien. Viens, je te présente à ma cousine. Daniel, voici Philippe. Daniel. Ah, c'est toi Philippe. Salut. Cécile parle tout le temps de toi. The translation of this text is Cécile. Hi Philippe, how are you? Philippe. I'm good, and you? Cécile. I'm very well. Come, let me introduce you to my cousin. Daniel, here's Philippe. Daniel. Oh, so you are Philippe. Hello. Cécile talks about you all the time. In this dialogue, we have 4 tonic pronouns. The first one is an example of a phrase that has been omitted. The portion that is absent but implied is Tu vas bien? This can be translated as How are you? Tu vas bien has been removed and the subject pronoun tu has been replaced by toi. The second tonic pronoun emphasizes the subject by repeating it. The first pronoun is a tonic pronoun and the second one is its corresponding subject pronoun je. The third tonic pronoun follows the phrase c'est. When ce sont and c'est are followed by a pronoun, it is always the tonic pronouns that follow them. And the final tonic pronoun follows a preposition. The same rule that is applicable to c'est and ce sont is applicable here as well. It is always a tonic pronoun that follows a preposition. With this, we come to the end of our fourth lesson. This lesson was divided into 4 parts. In the first part, we learned what a tonic pronoun is and how it differs from a subject pronoun. In the second part, we learned a few contexts where tonic pronouns are used. And finally, in the third part, we summarized today's lesson by studying a short dialogue on tonic pronouns. I hope you enjoyed today's session. In the next class, we'll learn the prepositions that are used before the name of a country or a city. I hope to see you in the next class. Thank you. À bientôt. See you soon.